Women's Six Nations, the third and final kind of regular season round before we head into the finals matches, is done and dusted. Two big away wins, Italy and France getting big wins over Ireland and Scotland. I guess the Scotland game was a bit closer, but it blew out a bit on paper towards the end. But I'll go over some of the key events, the stats, and just generally let you guys my thoughts on the games and any insights, observations, and I don't know, thoughts that you guys had on the games. Definitely most welcome. The first one, Ireland and France, what a beautiful day. Both these games were played in really, really beautiful conditions, which is great to see. Beautiful day in Ireland for this France game. And it was interestingly Ireland that put the pressure on early, surprisingly, when you look at that scoreline. Because I think France knocked it on from the kickoff, and Ireland were really hammering on the door. They eventually managed to kick a penalty to at least get points on the board. So they were in front 3-0. It didn't last though. The first try of the game was Boujard, excuse the pronunciation, the winger, set up by Boulard, whose surname is helpfully fairly similar, at least to my untrained ear. But they look nothing alike in terms of their stature. Like the fullback, Boulard is a big, rangy fullback. And she's maybe my favourite French player, man. I believe it's only her second test, and I've only watched 2 French tests in terms of women's rugby. So, it's been great to see her coming along at the same time I've just started watching, so I kind of picked some good timing. Big line break from her. She draws in Considine, the Irish fullback, and then it's a 2-on-1 essentially. So she just has to pass to Boujard, and it's 7-3, good conversion. And then Boulard gets her own magic try, absolutely, maybe the try of the game for mine. It's her second test, man, and what a try. The TMO did have to check the grounding, but it was all good. Ireland lost the ball forward on an attack, and then the French scrum half just booted it. And the fullback, Boulard, just chased, managed to kick it to keep it going forward, and just outran all the defenders, and one touch over the whitewash, and she got enough downward pressure to make it a try. Absolute magic one, 14-3. They varied it up a bit with their third try because it was a big old forwards try. It was a maul try. Interestingly, Ireland didn't even jump at the maul. They were set at the line-out. They were set for the maul, but they still couldn't stop it, and it was a penalty try, that one. And the yellow card to McDermott. So 21-3, looking pretty hairy for Ireland after an early good period. It had all kind of gone to custard a bit. Interestingly, though, once they get the yellow card, Ireland actually gets some more points on the board. 26 minutes, they get a maul try of their own. They opted not to go for 3. I guess at 21-3, you might as well go for tries. You're at least on the board. You're not going to get nilled. But in terms of the game, you probably need a score to get back into things. So sure enough, they managed to get the try through Maloney. She peeled off at the right time, and they missed the conversion, but it's 21-8, and they're leading the yellow card 5-0. So happy days for Ireland. I mean, not happy days from 21-8 down, but still, it was good management of the card. They did concede a penalty offside, which France duly took during that yellow card period to make it 5-3. And that all came from kind of a poor Irish clearing kick. It was a bit of a nothing kick into the middle of the park, didn't get a lot of distance on it, so it was kind of asking for trouble with France with that back 3 running it back to you. France scored a try on 33 minutes to Ndaye. That was one of the weirdest tries you'll ever see because the French scrum half tapped it, like quick tapped it, but she essentially didn't even regather it. She tapped it and it just kind of went 2 paces in front of her, but she was facing the sideways, so it didn't go forward that far. It went to the side. And then they powered through Ndaye powered through the backs when she collected it. So it was a bit of a bizarre try. But that's the bonus point, man. 31-8. And they got another one, a real coach killer, like just heartbreaker for Ireland, but great play from France. Barnet gets her try, first of 2. Turnover ball, strips it in the tackle, and she just picks it, and she is gone. Absolute lightning. 38-8 at halftime, and it's looking... Yeah, it's not looking that great. I guess if you look at that 38-8, it could have been worse. Like the French are going to be in the 70s if they keep up this kind of pace. But Ireland are a bit better in the second half. France get a maul try, though, at the start of the second half. Well, they didn't. It was stopped, actually. I wrote down more try. This is going to be a more try for sure. But it was like 3 phases later, Buja went over for her try. She just kind of stepped and went over. So 43-8. The French offload game was really on display for the try in 55 minutes. Bourdon, the replacement scrum half, like her pass is just a thing of beauty to watch. It's just so crisp. It's a proper bullet. Like very few players have a pass quite that good. Like no matter what rugby you're watching. Like Aaron Smith's got a really nice pass to watch. Bourdon's pass is like, yeah, it's a proper thing of beauty. Bullet pass. It just fizzes when she throws it. Yeah, they managed to beat Constantine. And it was 48 points to 8 with that one. Offloading game was just crazy. It was Menage who got the try. Interestingly though, because Constantine missed a one-on-one tackle for that try, Constantine made up for it later on when she had a one-on-one and she made a tackle, and then a few phases later made a really important tackle. So her defense, I think she finished with 3 tackles made, 3 tackles missed. So a bit of a hit and miss one, but yeah. 65 minutes was a bit of a painful one from the refereeing team. They just took a bloody age on a TMO call for a high tackle from Murphy Crowe, the replacement, number 23 for Ireland. It was just kind of a cheek contact on the French player. And like it's one of those ones where I kind of wish the TMO and the refs conversation was not audible to us so that they could feel free to speak more freely. Like sometimes I feel like the ref wants to disagree with the TMO or vice versa, but they can't be so direct because they know everyone can hear their conversation. It's the same, you wouldn't speak to, your brother or your sister in front of strangers the same way you would at home, right? It's just that same kind of deal. So when the ref clearly disagreed with the TMO's call of penalty only, she said, no, let's just have a look at it again. It's like, come on, man, you've already looked at it and looked at it and looked at it. But she didn't want to say like, no, it's a yellow card for me directly. So she wanted to look at it again and walk through the process. So that was a bit of a painful one. Like, I'm not a big fan of that, and I've mentioned that kind of thing before. But anyway, it ends up with a yellow card. France opt for the penalty, 51 points to 8. And then 71 minutes, France, a scrum leads to Bourdon going down the blind side, which is the right wing, a 2v1, and she gets it to Banet, who gets her second try. 56 points to 15, and the yellow cards, 8 points been scored. Ireland do have the last say from the restart. France make an absolute meal of it. They don't gather the restart. Ireland end up getting a penalty. They go for a line out, and their line out move is pretty slick, and it finishes with a great conversion. Finishes 56-15. So yeah, a heap going on in that game. I'm a bit disappointed it wasn't a bit closer, but yeah, some soft tries. Especially for Ireland, I think they'll be disappointed with a couple of those strips and whatnot. Missed tackles is like 27-15. You can't be doing that if you're Ireland, or be it up against a really tough French outfit. And the commentators did mention that the French players have still been playing through COVID, where the Irish players haven't. So there's probably some match sharpness there as well. Offload 7-2 with France having more. They offload like crazy. Line breaks 9-3. France have more. France have more possession, but slightly less territory. Possessions 54, territories 49. A good stat from that one was points per visit to the 22. France were 4, which is solid, whereas Ireland were just the 1. Constantine, like I mentioned, bit of a mixed bag. She has 6 turnovers conceded, which is way too many, but also 5 broken tackles, which is the most of any Irish player. I think she had the most run meters as well. Nelpo, the midfielder, had 6 from 6 tackles, which is good effort. Banet and Buja, the wingers, ran riot, like 144 run meters for Banet, 120 for Buja, 7 broken tackles for Banet, 4 for Buja. Their back three all round is just absolute class. Mayans, the blind side, had 9 from 9 tackles, so good effort. France will go and play England, which should be an absolute cracker in the final round. And Ireland will take on the winner of this game, which was Italy. Speaking of the Italy game, it was a bit closer. Like I said, another nice day, really beautiful weather. But Italy got a try really early through Rigoni. Just a huge period of pressure. Scotland on the back foot early, 7-0. Scotland lost their own line out in the Italian half, which led to an Italian counter-attack. And Furlan just absolutely tore up scored a try, like, almost like not quite a 10-pointer, like then that you saved 5 points from Scotland, because Scotland weren't looking like they were going to score, but they were certainly on the offensive to standing under their own sticks, which is never a nice place to be. The conversion was close, but it was short, 12-0. Scotland, though, bounced back with a maul try after a line-out. The Italian 9, I forget her name, conceded a really cynical, silly penalty for like slapping the ball down at the back of the scrum. And Scotland made them pay. Good conversion, 12-7. 12-7's game on, and Nelson is a hell of a kicker, I will give her that. 27 minutes, it looks like Rigoni's got a second try, but she knocks it on as she's diving over the line. They had gone through a load of phases, so Scotland kind of almost guilty of giving away points not too long after scoring. 38 minutes, Italy conceded a penalty in their own 22, which was a wee bit poor. I think it was like a clean out outside the ruck, like cleaning out a player who wasn't involved in a ruck, just not necessary. Scotland opt to take the 3, so it's a 2-point game. And then from the kickoff, they make an absolute meal of it. They fail to secure their own ball. They go 5 or so phases, the Italians, and they just power over through Argetti, the big blindside, into space through good hands, and suddenly it's 19-10. It was a 2-point game right before halftime. Suddenly it's a 9-point game, bit of a coach killer. And then straight from the kickoff, Italian get another try. The fullback, it's Manuzzi. Again, it's the Italian scrum half. I should learn her name because she was really good, apart from that cynical penalty. Good line break. They had a big overlap, to be fair, and they didn't quite... I think it was one of the props took it into contact. I was like, shovel it wide, but no, they didn't, but didn't matter anyway. The fullback went over on the blind side. They missed the conversion, 24 points to 10. And I guess the Italian goal kicking is one thing that is a little bit concerning. The goal kicking was like 3 from 7, so not a very good day at the office in those regards, but not all easy kicks, that's for sure. 45 minutes, a massive Scotland maul leads to the Italians getting a yellow card warning, but Scotland up for the 3 to make it 13-24, and I was thinking, man, turn the screws, but they opted for the 3, so gets them a wee bit closer, but maybe it lets the Italians off in terms of some of that on-field pressure. Scotland showed great maul defence on 51 minutes on their own line, but about 8 minutes later, the Italians did go over through Furlan again after a heap of phases. 29-13 is starting to look like, probably all she wrote. And definitely all she wrote on 67 minutes when Rigoni sells a big old dummy, but they had numbers anyway, and it's 34 points to 13. Scotland do get one last maul going close. It doesn't quite make it to the goal line, but they go through a few phases, and Wassell gets the try about a metre out. 34 points to 20, and 34 points to 20, I'm thinking that's a fair reflection. That's probably how this game should go. But then Furlan gets a hat-trick try 2 minutes before time. It's a scrum, some long passes, finds the space out wide. And that conversion did go over, one of the tougher ones. 41 points to 20. Goodness me, lots of tries scored. Absolutely. Glorious stuff. I'm very much looking forward to next week's games. Is it next week? I haven't even checked the fixtures list. But the next round of games, because they look like there could be some proper good close battles on there. The stats for this one, possession and territory are pretty even, but the Italians edge the territory by more, 56-44. Offloads is 10-2 with the Italians having more, but they have more handling errors, 15-5. Line breaks is 10-1 with the Italians having 10. Missed tackles 23-10 with Scotland having more. Time in opposition 22, 3 minutes 28 for Scotland, 6 minutes 22 for Italy. So Scotland were having to do some pretty desperate defending at times. Interestingly though, points per visit to the 22 is 4 for Scotland, 3 for Italy. So Scotland were, by opting for the 3 sometimes, making sure they got points when they were on offer. Furlan has 188 run meters and 5 broken tackles. Rigoni 111 and 6. The lock Federighi has 16 out of 17 tackles, which is a phenomenal shift. The lock Wassell for Scotland has 13 from 13. Nelson runs 77 run meters. She's pretty useful player. But disappointment for Scotland to get beaten by that margin. But yeah, Italy will have a crack at Ireland, and that seems to be about fair. One win in the comp overall. Italy, I just mentioned them. England will take on France, which is definitely the game to watch. I'm very much looking forward to that one. That one should be an absolute cracker. And then Scotland and Wales will get one last chance to finally crack a win in the competition. One of them will go winless. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. Those are just my thoughts from the game. Still learning the players. Still picking my favourites. I think Nelson's maybe my favourite Scottish player, but it's always easy to pick the one who takes the goal kicks. Boulard, the fullback for France, is proper rangy and got some pace. Yeah, I don't know. Still getting a feeling for it. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you soon. See you later.